Welcome, good evening to all of you. Always great to see a few people in here. Sorry we're starting a few minutes late. We had a Discord mod meeting tonight, which always uh, inevitably makes us start a little bit later on these streams, but great to be here. If you're new here, this is actually, before I go into the disclaimer, I'm going to give it a second because I've been told by the mods that I have to stall at the beginning of these episodes. I have to stall at least 20 seconds because we have withstood the urge of countdowns here. There are no countdowns on this stream, and people are coming in, and sometimes they are served ads, and people miss things. And so I've been told I need to just stall a little bit. That's what I'm doing. Is this what you would call expert stalling? I don't know. It's at least novice stalling. That's what we're doing. What is the definition of stalling? It depends on what you're looking up, because there are more than one reference to stalling, which I'm sure you understand. Okay, so if you're new here, this is a very different kind of place. This is not entertainment. This is not entertaining. We will be taking anonymous calls for the next 2 hours, and we have no idea who's calling. We have no idea what they are going to talk about or what's on their minds. We provide a safe place here for people to talk about whatever they're thinking about. People often make confessions here, anonymous confessions. Some people talk about things they're going through just to like vent or think out loud. Some people want feedback from the chat or me, and we will all do our best to deliver on all of these fronts. I am not a psychologist. This is not a substitute for therapy, of course. This is just you could consider this place like a good neighbor. We're just a good neighbor. We're friends. We believe that people need to talk about things that are hard to talk about. There's a lot of things that are hard to talk about today. We only ask a few things. We only ask that you don't get political, ideological, or too philosophical. There are occasions where we venture into very softly some of these things, but it is never to try to sway anyone's opinion. It is never to try to proclaim that we are the beacons of truth. It's just to, like, certain people are going through a lot, and so some people are struggling with things like this. So it's not a hard rule, but we ask that you not make this place an inflammatory kind of platform where you force us to get ideological or political. That's not what this place is for. This place is for just just pretend we're at a bonfire. We're here having a bonfire. We're hanging out. You're telling me about your week. You're telling the chat about your week. You're telling us about what's on your mind. And that's what this place is. This is not a place where we're going to debate. This is not a place where I'm going to argue with you. This is a place where we just listen to what's on your mind. So as long as you remain completely anonymous, that means no names, no locations of anyone, so you don't implicate yourself, so that you don't say something on record, doxing yourself that you wish you hadn't said 5 years later. It's to protect you. It's to protect those that you love. We ask that you remain completely, ruthlessly anonymous. If for some reason you mention a name or location, you get toasted. That means I hang up on you. I don't like hanging up on people in real life or on a YouTube stream. We've tried to make light of it. It sounds like this. If I hang up on you, we play the toaster sound. It means you got toasted. Just please, you would be surprised how many times I have had to hang up on people in regrettable situations. I don't like doing it. Please try your best to remain anonymous. We want to let conversations flow naturally here as long as they need to. So that's the rundown. We also have a Discord server that's an extension of this project. It's the Anonymous Live Discord server. It's completely free to you. We have done our best to make it a valuable resource for people who want to talk about interesting topics or are going through difficult things. We have one-on-one voice channels there, which means Only 2 people can participate at a time. So if you identify with someone in the channel, in the server that you want to talk to one on one, you can do that one on one and know that it's one on one. We also have public voice channels, which means like you can participate in a group. We also have multiple text and voice channels for video games or books, all kinds of things. There's a book club channel. People are talking about books. Every day, people are in the Anonymous live server talking about very different things. And we've done our best, again, to make it a place where anyone and everyone can go in there and find someone that they jive with to talk about whatever it is that's on their mind. And none of this is a replacement for therapy. None of it. I'm actually astonished that this is something I still have to say, but uh, inevitably, people come in here asking if I'm a psychologist. I am not a psychologist. Far from it. I've never even stepped foot onto a college campus. I am just a dude who I'm just a random guy who's been through a lot and wished that this kind of place existed. At many other times in my life, I wish this kind of place existed, and so that's why I've started this project. People need to talk. People benefit from just talking. Stream of conscious. That's what this place is. So we'll be here for the next 2 hours taking anonymous calls. Please remain anonymous. I don't want to hang up on you. And with that, we are going to open the lines. Lines are opening now. We have a 1-800 number here you can call. Please just be careful. If you are an international caller, we still have yet to work out the bug with there are certain countries that are getting charged for calling internationally that probably shouldn't be getting charged. And so if you're an international caller, just dial with caution because you might get charged. We're still ironing this out. I'm embarrassed, honestly, to say that we're still ironing this out because it's just one of those things that we will get to eventually. Some calls are coming in, but I'm taking it some time to address this because that's important. I don't want people calling in and getting charged. This is supposed to be a toll-free number internationally to over 100 countries, but for some reason, certain countries that are surprising are getting charged, including England. So just dial with caution if you're an international caller. Here we go.
Surprising or getting charged, including England.
Hello, thanks for calling.
So, well, if you're an international caller.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello. Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
Yeah, I'm 20, and
Okay.
Sorry, I don't really know where to kind of start.
It's all right. Take a
I
second
guess,
if you need.
yeah. I've just recently just had a lot kind of adding up, I guess. Yeah, I've I guess okay. Let me start with my family's had like a long problem with like addiction, just running down my family line and that kind of stuff. And my father's had problems with addiction, alcoholism, and that kind of stuff. And he had been sober for a long time when me and my sister had been growing up. And recently he relapsed really bad, enough to, lead into problems with him and my stepmom and people wanting to divorce and move out and all that kind of stuff. And, on top of that, my girlfriend decided to, go her own way. And so, my mind's kind of juggling things. I'm 20 years old, and I'm living on my own at this point, completely by myself. And I don't know, a lot of times it feels like I want to be supportive to, my father going through a lot like he is, and trying to kind of be a home base for him and grounding him. But also, I feel like I'm in so much chaos myself, you know.
Yeah. So your girlfriend is your girlfriend's departure connected to the chaos that you're describing, or was it just tangential or adjacent to it? Was it just like a
It was very just
coincidence?
coincidental, and it
Okay.
just kind of, the whole tower crashed down at the same time, and I don't know, it definitely adds to me mentally, as a stressor. But I I don't think there was any connection there. It just, adds to it. I'm just trying to find ways to, be that person that can, be there for others, and help my father in any way I can, as well as, my sister, and because she's, having to go through all of this with me, and we're trying to be there for each other, but it's hard. It feels like it's hard to, want to be there and be so present for other people and help them when, it feels like there's a storm going on around me.
What
I
was
just,
your what was your memory of your dad like?
I mean, he's very stubborn, but he always did what he felt was right, and he's very good hearted, very level headed most of the time. And growing up, I feel like he was about as good of a dad as you could hope for. He was always there. Um, he worked really hard to make sure that me and my sister had everything we needed. But underneath, he's killing himself, uh, you know, feeding into this addiction, and both me and my sister have struggled with addiction ourselves, and it's hard to want to help someone you love so much and who has done so much for you when the things that they're struggling with, you feel so personal with. But it's hard to feel like I want to be that lifeline for him when I feel like we all might need one.
It's interesting you're saying your dad had some demons and yet your dad got shit done and took care of you. Am I understanding right?
Yeah, yeah, he was very functional. He did what he had to do, but he was hurting himself and killing himself in the process.
Right. How do you feel about your dad? What do you feel when you think about your dad?
Um, I don't know. I mean, it sounds cheesy or cliche, but I don't know, quite literally like my Superman or my hero. Whenever something was wrong, I mean, like I said, I'm living by myself now, but even if there was something wrong at the house, or something wrong in my life, or if I had any struggle, and I even said that to him, he was always right there. He was the first one there, you know, solving the problem for me, showing me how to do what I need to do to, get through what I need to. But he's this person that seems invincible, and that I think that's also part of the problem uh,
Mm-hmm.
with all this, is that he likes to see himself as someone that is you're able to depend on. And he likes to be that kind of grounding rock for not only me and my sister, but our whole family in general. But even underneath this picture of this picture of invincibility. He has all these underlying things going on, and it's almost like what's going on is super taboo. That's part of the reason that it's all happening. Like, we're afraid to talk about it because he doesn't struggle, or at least that's what his image is. He doesn't like to be one that struggles. Weird.
Interesting. Yeah, your dad's not invincible. I'm sure you know that. I'm sure that's not news to you. But he's not in. He's not. Uh, I think this is one of the transformations we go through in our early 20s, is understanding that our parents are not invulnerable. Our parents are not perfect. Of course, we know this stuff well before our 20s. Most of us, at least, would be my guess. But our 20s are about coming into our own and about making our own lives. And your dad, uh, like our parents are kind of like superheroes to us when we're growing up. That's what they're there to be. They're there to be uh, maps. They're kind of like maps to uh, what the world is in
Yeah,
personal terms.
absolutely.
For so like part of coming into your 20s is about understanding that a map is just a map. Suffice to say, even the map of the entire world isn't accurate. In fact, this is one of the complaints about like the representation of the country of Africa, like on the globally issued map. It's like not a accurate representation of the size of Africa. Um,
Right.
Africa has been made to be smaller on most maps and most globes than it actually is, for various reasons that are not good reasons. But the point is that like a map is just a map. A map is just something someone made, and that's what our parents are. Our parents are maps. It's not to say that they're useless. It's not to say that they're pointless. It's not to say they have no value. But the point is that they're not perfect. Our parents aren't perfect, and that's part of what coming into your 20s is about. Is understanding that your parents didn't get everything right, but you gotta hope that they at least got the things they really believed in right. And um, a lot of parents don't even get that stuff right. So it's a messy picture coming into your 20s. I'm not telling you your parents are wrong. I don't know you. I don't know your parents. I'm not like telling you to like unsubscribe from anything they've taught you. I'm sure they've taught you a lot of good things. I don't know what your
Right.
situation is. But the point is that you're telling me your dad's alcoholic. You're telling me like all of his flaws, and you're also telling me he's Superman to you. And I'm telling you like that's what your 20s are. Your 20s are realizing that your parents like they kind of are Superman and Superwoman. That both of them are, because they've trailblazed for you. They have blazed a trail for you to breed a life out of. And at the same time, they didn't get everything right. That's up to you to determine what they got right and what they got wrong. And you will get some things wrong. I will get some things wrong. Everyone here in the chat will get some things wrong. But all we can do is go off of what our parents taught us. And our parents, like, that's the ideal. Our parents are superheroes. Like, that doesn't make them invulnerable. It doesn't make them invincible. Uh, they're still
Right.
fallible people, but they do provide a map that is valuable to us. It's not perfect, but it's valuable. And like there's a lot of beauty in what I'm trying to say might be hard, maybe I should make it simpler. What I hear you saying is that there's a lot of beauty in what your parents have given you because you see your parents for the value that they've presented. Like I don't hear you saying, "Oh, my dad's a deadbeat because he's an alcoholic." I hear you saying, "My dad is my Superman in spite of him being an alcoholic." And that's beautiful because every person has their shortcomings. Every person has their struggles. Every person has their no one's perfectly balanced all the time. And so there's a lot of beauty in what you're saying. And this is what your 20s are about, is about parsing through what that means for you. And I can promise you, you won't get it right, at the very least. I hope that isn't scary to you. I hope it just takes some pressure off. Uh,
Yeah,
you won't, you
absolutely.
won't, you won't get it right, but you will learn some things from the map your parents gave you. And some of those things will be improvements upon their map, and some of those things will be maybe slightly missing their map, for the worse. Uh, but this is what we do. That's at least how I see it. That like none of us get it 100% right all the time. And I've been talking for a while, but that's my response to, as my reaction to what you just shared. And it's a beautiful picture what you shared. Like you're saying again, like I want to reiterate, you're saying your dad is your Superman, despite the fact that he struggles with alcoholism. And that's not something a lot of people can say. So your dad must be like really an interesting guy.
Yeah, no, he's great. I I I can kind of understand what you're saying, in a way with this, with painting this picture of the map, because like you were talking about, carrying on certain traits of the map, from your parents, and I think he did that himself with my grandparents. There are some aspects of my grandparents that he kind of tweaked and are better at, but in the same respect, like kind of like we're talking about, there's some aspects where he struggles with. I think that applies to, even me and my sister. As we're growing up, we were just talking the other day about how it's weird. Our parents split up when we were about high school age, and getting into more problems as we get older. Through all of this, we see the problems with our parents and how they are human. They have flaws just like anyone else, and it's really learning how to kind of, for us, I guess, we feel like we need to step up and, I don't want to say be the adults in the situation, but kind of be that grounding, uh, home base, and that's something that we're working on. Trying to, be there, because you're right. I don't take my father, or my mother for that matter, for granted. They've been amazing, but you hate to see someone that has been this amazing person that you love so much. You hate to see them struggle and fall into the pit that they do. But um, but no, it's definitely, it definitely is taking time for me to learn how to deal with that, and be as much of a man as he wants me to be, and as much as he wants to be himself. I think that's what I'm figuring out.
So what would make this a good call? What do you think is what's the root issue? I hear you are, it sounds like you're wrestling with some dichotomies about some dichotomous perspectives on your parents and the things they raised you with and the things you saw in them. So what would you say is the root issue that led you to call tonight, and what would make this a good call?
Uh, I think mainly I am struggling with trying to figure, like, I think I kind of touched on it a little bit, but me and my sister, we both have struggled with addictions before, um, and I am on and off, with my substance abuse. Um, I just I'm trying to, I guess I'm trying to find some way to I don't know. I'm looking for a way to feel like I'm supporting him and the people around me, but it feels like I'm losing a lot of it in my own problems. I I feel like I'm looking at the problems and I can see, the good sides of it, kind of like we were talking about how beautiful of a thing it is, that he is the father that he is. But even with that, um, I feel like I have my struggles, wanting to support him through his because of my own struggles, I guess.
Interesting.
I don't know.
It's really interesting. So you're talking about so it sounds like you're dealing with some substance abuse as well. Is that right? What are you abusing?
Mostly just, nicotine, weed. I'll occasionally drink, but I'm not an alcohol person.
Okay. Uh, so you've inherited some kind of uh, it sounds like you've inherited some kind of substance abuse tendency in the way that your dad did, uh, but it's a different substance.
Yeah, I don't. I I think that's the weird thing about it is, uh, I don't know. I think our I don't know if you want to call it an addictive personality, or I don't know exactly how that works, but I don't think me or my father are necessarily addicted to a specific substance. I think we're just addicted to the idea of substances and just
Mm-hmm.
having something. Because my sister struggles with it as well, and she drinks more than she smokes or anything. But even with the nicotine, it's like, I couldn't care less, what's in it. I just, want to have something to hold on to, something to, you know, make me attached to something, I guess. I don't know. The idea of having something there.
Sounds like you want to know that you can feel a certain way at your disposal.
Right. I think,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Now you go. Floor is yours.
I just, I don't know. I've kind of gotten to this loop of, just with everything going on, just like, using to, uh, set it to the side, and then every time, I set it to the side, it ends up coming back. So I just set it to the side again with the substances, or with, working myself to death, or just distractions. But that's not helping me. It's not really helping my father, because I feel like that's what got him in the position he's in. It's just the idea of pushing things back. But I don't know. It's hard. You want to be there for someone else, but it's like, you're watching somebody burn while you're sitting in the fire pit. It's
Right.
not much different yourself.
Self-care warrior says something. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure if this is what you need to hear, but I try to highlight things here from the chat because this is a group effort. Um, Self-care warrior says something interesting that I think is at least uh, worth noting. I don't know if it's what you need to hear, but they say to you, it's not the child's job to fix their parents. And I wonder if you feel watching your father self-destruct in some way and feel that it's your job to help him.
Yeah, like in the I feel like in my conscious mind, I agree. Like it's not the child's responsibility to to fix the parents, I guess. But in my subconscious mind, um, I it's more of like an emotional attachment, or like you feel like this person has done so much for you when you've fallen down. It's hard to see somebody else fall down. Um, it feels almost like a teammate. He's been there when to pick me up, and it feels like it's my turn. I'm 20 years old. I'm an adult with a job. I'm paying bills and doing what I'm supposed to do. It feels like now, I'm old enough to where I should be able to pick up slack. At least that's how I feel. Um, I don't I don't necessarily know that it was ever like my parents never really forced the idea of me picking up any slack, but it feels like that I almost owe it to them for them doing all the things they've done for me. I don't know if that's bad or not.
Well, I want to be clear. You're 20 years old. I can't fix your problems. I'm not. Only you can fix your problems. I'm happy to give you a place here to think out loud. I'm also not assuming that you think I can fix your problems. I just feel the need to say that every so often just to make sure,
Absolutely.
because I don't know you, you don't know me. I want to make sure you're clear on what you're calling into. That like this isn't a place where I'm gonna fix your problems. I don't have a magic wand. Uh, but
Right.
like there's power in conversation and just venting this stuff and thinking out loud. There's power in that, and that's what we give you here is a place to just think out loud without the risk of me calling the police on you because I don't know where you are. I don't know your name. I don't know where you live. Um,
Right.
and so that's what this place is, just to be explicitly clear. Um, but with that, a lot of what you're saying is reminding me of a book that I'm still finishing. Um, I don't know how this book will sit on the ears of a 20-year-old. I don't know if you would even like want to read a book this dense because this is not an easy book to read. It's 700
Sure.
pages. Um, it's a book about trauma and what Western religious types would call generational curses. I'm not familiar. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term, generational curses. But um, do you know what I mean when I say that?
I'm assuming that it's something negative that's inherently passed down through the family.
Right. So it's a Christian term. I'm not super religious. In fact, I don't know if I'm religious at all. Literally, I don't know. Uh, but the point is, like, it's a religious term that I'm using, just to be very clear, which means like there's a lot of superstition that is inherited with a term like generational curses. But there's this book I'm reading that is blowing my mind right now. It's written by a guy named Gabor Mate, who is an author and a clinical physician and I believe a psychologist. Gabor Mate. Let me make sure I'm not butchering his biography. This guy is like basically should have been retired a long time ago, and he's still going. He's written dozens of books. Uh, he is a Canadian physician and author. He has a background in family practice and a special interest in childhood development, trauma, and potential lifelong impacts on and physical and mental health, including autoimmune disease. So he's not a psychologist, but he's a physician that is spent the majority of his career understanding trauma, and he has a very unique take on trauma and how it plays out in families. And that's what I'm getting at when I talk about generational curses. Anybody who knows what I mean when I say generational curse might be very interested in this book, because Gabor Mate attempts through his 80 something years of life. How old is he? He was born in 1944, so that would make him 78. Uh, so he's pushing 80, and he's still writing books. He just released a book this year. This is the book I'm reading right now that's blowing my mind. It's called The Myth of Normal. I'm going to link you to this in the chat. You don't have to make a note. I'll put it in the chat for you. I've mentioned this book a few times over the last month because I'm reading it right now, and it's blowing my mind. This book is amazing. This book gets at um, generational patterns. And you're a caller here saying like your father dealt with substance abuse, and now here you and your sister are dealing with substance abuse. What Gabor Mate would say about this is like, well, you have a father who was emotionally neglected in some way as a child, and that was never dealt with. And so as an adult, they turn to substances, or they develop uh, or they develop certain uh, neurological conditions like ADHD, or something like that. Like people develop, they are developed to their environments. So Gabor Mate has a really interesting perspective on uh, something that has been a religious theory for thousands of years, and he brings a scientific um, definition to it with this book, The Myth of Normal, with regard to uh, trauma and how we respond to trauma. And the picture he paints, I'm going to butcher it inevitably, but the picture he paints in this book, again, I'm not a psychologist, so I can only butcher this. Please do your own research, but I'm gonna put the Goodreads link in the chat for you so you can at least read about the book before you decide if you're going to read it. But the way he would
Right.
paint it is that you have a father who grows up emotionally stunted in some way, and some they develop certain neurological conditions because of that, and or they develop certain addictions or certain tendencies, and then because they are relying on these uh, crutches like substances or what have you, they invariably pass these tendencies down to their kids, and then their kids grow up emotionally stunted, and they pass these things down to their kids. And this is like, I hope you see the picture I'm painting here, or that Gabor Mate is painting for us, that I'm just simply reporting. It's blowing my mind right now. It's like, how do we make a perfect civilization? We probably never will. We probably can't. But the point is that people aren't always going to be perfectly balanced. So how do we deal with trauma? How do we deal with things that don't go perfectly according to plan? How do we prepare ourselves and our future generations for life when the world isn't perfect? When we stand in the face of things like entropy every day, every human faces entropy every day. That is to say, we have to defend our lives every day. We have to try not to die every day. Uh, every day there are threats, and we have to do our best to solve problems, and we have to do our best to take care of ourselves in an effort to make sure that future humans can have good lives as well. And this is the picture that this book I'm talking about, The Myth of Normal, paints. It's not an easy read. It's a 700-page book, and I'm still not finished with it, so I don't know where it's going, admittedly. But this book is blowing my mind. I'm gonna put this in the chat for you. Give me a second. The Myth of Normal, Goodreads. Uh, it's brand new. It just came out this year. This guy's. Does anything I'm saying make sense? Have I done at least a decent job of
Yeah. No.
regurgitating what the premise of this book is? I'm not
Yeah.
sure I have.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Definitely.
The Myth of Normal. Okay, it's in the chat for you now. Amazing book. There's another book
Awesome.
that I think is a very powerful follow-up book to that. The second the second book I would check out. I wouldn't read it first. I would read The Myth of Normal first if you can get through it. Uh, I know this is this is the worst endorsement I could possibly give, right? Like I'm doing the worst job I could possibly do at endorsing this book, but I promise you, if you give this book the attention it deserves, in my opinion at least, um, it's going to rock your world. And there's a second book that is not related. It's by a totally separate author, but I believe that this book gets at what to do with the trauma. So, in other words, Gabor Mate's book, The Myth of Normal, does a great job at defining the trauma, but it doesn't, at least so far as I've read, it doesn't really tell you what to do with it. There's a great follow up book, in my opinion, called Existential Kink, which is a funny title, admittedly. It's called Existential Kink: Unmask Your Shadow and Embrace Your Power. It's by Carolyn Elliott. Give me a second to put this in the chat for you. And this book is all about, this book is a synthesis of a lot of classical uh, philosophy and psychology by the works of people like Friedrich Nietzsche and Carl Jung and Freud and a number of other uh, philosophers and psychologists. So, like, this isn't uh, like groundbreaking work, but Carolyn Elliott in this work, Existential Kink, she's done a great job at synthesizing, making a synthesis of all these different ideologies and putting it into a framework. Like what she's done is she's produced a framework based on this classical psychology and philosophy that provides a way forward for people trying to heal from trauma, to heal from it in a more effective way. The groundbreaking premise of this book is that we actually get off on remaining in our comfort zones. In other words, uh, your dad's an alcoholic, so then you inherit a certain environment or experience, and then you develop a certain response to that. And so, what is the best response to that response in order to make sure that you're living in a balanced way? And that's what existential kink is it's like acknowledging that we all kind of get off on living within a certain comfort zone that we develop due to our environment or our upbringing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Right, right. No, I understand.
So,
Yeah, I think that's definitely one I'm going to have to check out. Definitely.
I really believe, I'm not sure if I've said this on the stream before, but I really believe that these two books, I just discovered these two books recently. I really honestly believe that these two books together could do so much for most of the world if read in sequence. Like if you if more people would take the time to understand what's in Gabor Mate's book, The Myth of Normal, and then follow it up with Existential Kink, I believe these two books, like they're two totally separate authors, but I believe if more people would read these two books in this sequence, that more people would find answers to the challenges that they are so lost in. Like, how do we define the trauma, and then what do we do about it? In other words, uh, those are the two questions that I hear more often than not on this stream. It's like what pretty much everybody calls in about. Like, I went through XYZ, now I experience ABC. What do I do about XYZ and ABC? And that's what I think is so powerful about these two books, uh, The Myth of Normal and Existential Kink. If you read The Myth of Normal first, it will define for you what at least Gabor Mate's perspective is on trauma, which is a very unconventional perspective. It runs completely counterintuitive to a lot of the perspectives available to you through doctors or conventional medicine. And yet it is, Gabor Mate is like, just read his biography and read about the book before you buy it. I'm not telling you to buy it, but like This guy is something else. This guy is crazy, like in the best way possible. He's like I can't believe I'm just finding out about him. I wish I had known about him uh, a lot earlier, but I really believe that these two books are so powerful together. I wish that these authors would like team up and sell these two books as a package because I think that together they answer pretty much every question related to trauma and how to recover from it. I'm not sure if I've ever said that here on the stream, but that's the best endorsement I can give these books, and I'm not just blowing smoke up these authors' skirts. I don't know them. That's just my honest opinion about them. So I spent a lot of time talking about those books, and I hope I haven't uh, bored you. But that's what I felt was relevant to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm probably getting to the end of my time, but I just wanted to say before I go that I really appreciate you and I really appreciate everything that you're doing. Being as empathetic of a person as you are, I think we need more people like that, and you're really doing a lot for, I know, this community and a lot of people. So I really appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Call back again anytime. The lines are open to you whenever. You can call again anytime. We welcome repeat callers, return callers for an update or for uh, if the plot thickens. You can call again anytime for any reason. So I hope that you get something out of those books, and I'm hoping for a good update.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
All right, chat. Lines are opening again. Seriously, if none of you have checked out that book by Gabor Mate or Carolyn Elliott, please consider checking out those books. If you have any trauma from your own upbringing, amazing books. And we're going to dive into another call. Here we go. Hello, thanks for calling.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
I'm 23. I'm currently going through college right now and just got out of a really interesting relationship. Um, and yeah, it's just my first time going through heartbreak and just not really sure, kind of what to do now. It's kind of been feeling low, lately, a little depressed, and saw you were streaming tonight, so I thought I'd call in.
What happened with your breakup? Can you tell us about the relationship? And of course, I don't claim to be a relationship expert. I don't claim to be able to fix your problems, but happy to listen and let you vent a bit. So what's going on?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, so I actually was married. Um, I was in a relationship with my high school sweetheart. And yeah, we got married a few years ago, and I don't honestly know what happened that brought it to an end. It just, looking back, kind of blew up in our faces, I think. I think I've wrestled with some feelings of depression that kind of, I think, contributed to it in hindsight. But yeah, things I think got said, and things happened, and it just, like I said, blew up kind of, I think, in our faces much quicker than we expected. I think it's just been hard trying to go now and figure out who I am outside of the relationship, and being on my own now in college and single, and for the first time in like 5 years or so. I don't know, it's just been some lonely nights and just not sure what to make of that.
So you married your high school sweetheart. The divorce was surprising. It blew up in both of you. It sounds like it was a surprise to both you and your former wife.
Yeah,
Do
100%.
you do you think it was equally as a surprise to her as it was to you?
I think honestly it was more of a surprise to her than me. I think I think the one who ended up moving on and being the, I guess, executor of the divorce. And I know she's hurting, and I still see her, and um, it's made for some interesting dynamics between my family. Um, I know, like when we told them, like they were apologizing to her for you know the way how I was behaving or acting, as I put it. And I don't know. It's been a very very weird situation to kind of navigate for the first time. Um, yeah, so I was just, I guess, calling and seeing if you or the chat had any advice for like this. Like I said, I've never been through heartbreak before, and so it's kind of all new to me. And yeah,
Well, on one hand, congratulations. You've had your heart broken. Uh, I don't mean to be insensitive, but on one hand, it's like that's a rite of passage in a certain way. Now you understand this part of yourself. In some ways, in most ways, you wouldn't be able to understand this part of yourself without this heartbreak. In other words, what is heartbreak? Heartbreak is when you are realizing that a relationship can't go any further, at least on its current terms. And so it's a reckoning with yourself and often other parties that you are going to have to become something else, or that there is something else that you should be aspiring towards, or that there is more. To put it very simply, there is simply more that you desire and believe there is to experience, um, and that is not an easy thing to go through, especially if you're married to someone. How long were you married?
we dated for like 3 years, and then we were married for a year and a half, if I remember correctly. And like this is all fairly recent, within like the last 6 months, I'd say. Um, yeah,
So within the last 6 months, you're getting over a roughly a 5-year relationship.
yeah. It's pretty surreal
That's
to hear and like to even say it.
yeah. Uh, well, let's start with some good news. The good news is, um, maybe cliche, but it's still good news. Um,
All right, hit me with it.
all right, here it is. You're 23. You're young. I told you we're starting cliche. You are young. I know that's not what you want to hear right now. I know right now you probably feel like the oldest man in the world. You probably feel like Benjamin fucking Button. You're just like, nobody knows how old I am because I don't look it. And I'm telling you, I'm going through the roughest time ever. But what I'm telling you is, you are very young, and congratulations. You've experienced some heartbreak. I believe heartbreak is actually one of the best things we can experience in life. I, I, I'm not just saying that to make this a good, like, a positive. I'm not trying to, like, overly, I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'm not trying to overly uh,
No,
positivize.
no,
I wish
you're
that was a
fine.
word. I'm not trying to, like, make this a positive thing. I'm saying heartbreak is, there's a quote that I'll butcher. it's something like I should know this quote because it's such a ubiquitous quote. The chat will inevitably correct me. Um, the universe is our ultimate teacher, meaning like setbacks are our ultimate teacher. So like
Yeah,
we don't learn much through um, feel good seasons. We learn a lot more through our setbacks. We learn a lot more watching the things that we thought would work fail. There's a lot more value in learning from those lessons more often than not than from just the feel good times, because when things feel good there is no entropy. There's not as much entropy. There's not as many problems. There's not much to learn from. We learn from our problems. That's why when we're in kindergarten we're taught math problems, English problems. The world that we live in trains us to deal with problems because there's value in them. There's value in knowing how to deal with problems. So that's why I congratulate you in saying, "Congratulations, you've had a heartbreak." I'm not trying to be dismissive. I'm not trying to like I'm not
do I
dismissing.
win like a new car or something?
Right. To be very clear, I'm not dismissing that you're going through a rough time, because like 100% I hear that, and I don't that's rough. Like that's it's heartbreak is rough. You're not talking about the kind of breakup heartbreak you're talking about is not just like a breakup. You're talking about like you were married to your high school sweetheart. That means you are not only breaking up with your high school sweetheart, that means you are also getting over the idea of what you were attracted to,
Yeah. No, I follow what you're saying. You're not being dismissive at all.
right? So you
It's
were not. Go ahead.
it's just I don't know a better way to put it. It's surreal. Like I never thought, like when we were saying our vows and like all the times I told her I love her and she'd be my forever and always. I didn't ever think I'd be here today. Like having to file divorce papers and being the one who's caused her all this pain. I know she's also going through, and it. I don't know. Like that, I think is part of what keeps me up at night. Is just like wondering if like it was the right call, or you know whether or not like she hates me because of hurting her. And um, but I try not to beat myself up with that, because you live and you learn. And, the bar from Kurt Vonnegut, so it goes. Um, so I don't know. It's just I think it's just weird. Like there's like that lonely kind of feeling of like acclimating to her not being a present part of my life anymore.
She was your ritual. She was part of your ritual. She was your whole world. You married her.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I'm glad like we crossed paths, because um, I definitely learned and am still learning a lot in all of this, like you're saying. Um, I don't know. I think it's just like a what ifs kind of way on my mind. Like, what if I'd done things differently, or um, what if I hadn't like, what if I had waited till like we graduated, and like life would have been maybe a little bit more stable than trying to be married and going through college. And you know like that's, I think, where I get lost.
Well, it sounds like something in the relationship wasn't working. Otherwise, um, you wouldn't be here. So what wasn't working?
um she's still very religious, so that I know made it hard and was a strain. I think we both had different family cultures growing up, where I know she's very close with her family, and I know she didn't want to like leave them, and I guess I come from a more, American kind of individualistic family culture, and I was wanting to, while we were young, go move away and build a life together with her, where I just ended up not feeling like I was a priority, despite like us being married, and I think that was one of my biggest driving factors and why we had to like call it quits. But I remember we were fighting a lot, and on our only anniversary, I remember us fighting, and I ended up going into like this really bad mental state for a couple months. I don't know, didn't think the relationship was healthy anymore, and that neither of us were truly happy, and felt like I had to be the one to make the call, because both of us, I think, were too scared deep down to say it or realize it. Even though like we've been going to couples counseling, and it's just, it didn't feel healthy, I don't think, at the end of the day.
So you got divorced because of religious differences, or because of religious differences plus other differences? Um,
Religious
and
differences plus other, for sure.
so what were
It
the
was like
others?
kind of definitely not wanting to, well, let me take that back. I didn't feel like I was as much a priority to her as she was to me. Um, I felt like I had spoken, I guess, for her too soon. Us getting married so young, I felt like that kind of did it more harm to the relationship than good, because we were married with roommates, and that was really difficult. And then we ended up moving out and staying with family, which was hard because it's like you want to be married and be with family, like it's nice, but you want some privacy sometimes. And I think we're also two like just completely different people. Like she's the opposite complete personality of me. Like she's total extrovert, and I'm kind of a homebody introvert type, and I think that's definitely what I was attracted to in her when we met. Where I don't know, just like those differences almost when we fought just became like a poison. Where it's like, why do you have to be that way? And it's like, I don't know, this is the way I am. And I know we both said and did things to the other that caused a lot of hurt. That both of us, in talking about it since, regret, and definitely didn't play a healthy role in the dynamic between the two of us. And I think it was a death by 1,000 cuts at the end of the day.
Was she dismissive of your feelings, or you
I'm
spoke up?
learning now that I don't do a good job at like opening up and like verbalizing my feelings. I had a hard time feeling like I could communicate openly and honestly with her, because I didn't want to like lose her. I was scared of um
Hmm.
I was scared of like saying the wrong thing and that she like leave me, you know. And I realized looking back, I'm like that's something in myself I need to work on. I think that might be part of why I wanted to call it tonight, is like to own some of these things, whether it's myself or anonymously to all you guys. And um, but yeah, like you were saying earlier, it's a season of growth, I think, where I'm in right now. But I don't know, it just still hurts.
Did you feel like you were walking on eggshells with your former
Yeah.
wife?
Yeah. I definitely
Right.
also think I put her too high up on a pedestal in my head, where I was, I think I built up some resentment because I didn't feel like things that I did were reciprocated or were just like not appreciated, which in going through some of that couples counseling I learned was like covert contract kind of stuff. And
Right.
like I wasn't verbalizing things that I needed met, and I was hoping like she'd pick up on the cues, and that's, like I said, you know, part of not being good at communicating, and I think that's something on my end I could have definitely done better. Yeah.
Hmm. That took a turn I didn't expect, but I also am not totally
Full surprise
surprised because a lot.
alert.
I'm not totally surprised because a lot of people calling in saying the same thing you're saying, which is that they have a partner who they feel like they have to walk on eggshells with, or that they are disregarding of their perspective, or uh, that they will leave if they say certain things. Um, that's not a good feeling. Many of us in this community know what that feels like. I'm thinking of 3 books that I'm going to mention. There's at least 3 books. There might be a fourth. I'm not saying you have to read all of these. I'm not recommending that you read all of these, but I'm going to put some Goodreads links in the chat for you so you can read about these books and decide which of these might be books you want to spend some time reading. None of these are short. None of these are easy to get through. Um, but I'd say there's a chance, based on what you're saying, that all 3 of them would be relevant. There's also, I would say, a larger chance that only 2 of them will be relevant. So I'm going to mention 3, and my sense is that 2 of them will probably be relevant, but maybe 3 of them will be. So it's up to you. Like, please do your own research. Read these Goodreads links I'm going to send you before you decide to buy the book. Um, and the
Love
first
to
book I'm
read, and I'm
thinking
always
of.
looking for new stuff, so hit me with it.
Okay, great. Um, Before I get into these books, I just want to say it sounds like you're dealing with someone who wasn't very uh, acknowledging of your feelings, and maybe didn't welcome your input. There was something from the chat. I'm trying to find it here before I get into these books that I felt was really relevant. I was listening while this came in, so I didn't mention it right then. But where is this? Who said this? I don't want to say it without crediting the person. Uh, Goodness gracious. Chat. There's so much stuff in the chat. How do I find this? Oh my goodness. Uh,
The
Here it
chat's
is. Here it
popping
is.
off. Let's go.
Here, exactly. Here it is. This is from Tyler W. in the chat. It says, "What ifs will drive you crazy? It's easier to say what now," which I think is totally true. I think that's totally true.
I like that. That, that resonates. Thank you. I think you said
Yeah,
Tyler. Thank you, Tyler.
yeah. So the first book that came to mind as you were talking is a book called "Stop Walking on Eggshells: Taking Your Life Back When Someone You Care About Has Borderline Personality Disorder." Now, to be very clear, I can't diagnose anybody. I don't know if you're dealing with some kind of psychopath. It's at least possible if based on a few red flags it sounds like you mentioned, like being dismissed, being misunderstood, being disregarded, having to walk on eggshells. Walking on eggshells is one of the number one red flags for dealing with psychopaths. So I and this book I'm talking about um, is specific to a specific kind of psychopath that is borderline personality disorder. So this book might not be relevant to you at all, even if um, you're relating to the feeling of walking on eggshells. It could be any kind of psychopath. This book is valuable regardless, is my sense. I'm not saying you should read it. This is the first book that came to my mind because you said you felt like you were walking on eggshells. Typically, people with BPD make you feel like you're walking on eggshells more so than other kinds of psychopaths. I'm just reporting the work of psychologists that I love, like Dr. Ramani Durvasula, whose book about to uh, suggest to you. Um, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but the point is that like this.
It's so funny you say that. I've seen some of her videos on YouTube.
Yeah, she's amazing. She is amazing. Uh, Modern day Gandhi, Dr. Ramani. So the point is like psychopathy is not easy to understand. I don't claim to fully understand it. I have dealt with a lot of psychopaths and sociopaths in my life. Um, Sociopaths seem to be easier to deal with because they are very honest. Psychopaths are not. I guess that's because psychopaths are made, or they're born rather. Psychopaths are born that way, and sociopaths are developed through trauma. Again, this isn't my work. This is just work I'm reporting from people like Dr. Ramani. Psychopaths are born that way. Sociopaths are developed through trauma, and so it makes sense in some way that sociopaths are more upfront and like they'll tell you they're a sociopath, and like it's the classic joke with in psychology with regard to psychopathy. It's like we have all this research behind understanding narcissists and psychopaths, and none of them will come get tested. So we found out that there are no psychopaths actually. It's like it's hilarious. It's like none of them will come get tested. Most of these tests for narcissists and other psychopaths, the vast majority of them are negative, meaning most of the people taking these tests are getting negative scores because the people who want to be tested are not psychopaths. What does that tell you? It tells you psychopaths will not go get tested. So for some reason, like sociopaths are like more acutely aware of what they grew up in or something like that. Like I'm not an expert in any of this, but this is just what it seems like. It's like, why else would that be? It's fascinating. So yeah, maybe I'm jumping the shark here, talking about stop walking on eggshells. But I'm gonna put this book in the chat for you. Give me 1 second to type this up. Let's see here. Stop walking on. Let's just copy and paste it. Stop walking on eggshells. Taking your life back when someone you care about has borderline personality disorder. Uh, in the chat for you, it goes in a matter of seconds. Here it is. Oh, there it is. The next book I'm thinking of is a book by Dr. Ramani Durvasula called Should I Stay or Should I Go? This is a book about dealing with narcissists. So this is different from BPD. This is, again, just to be very clear, this is a totally different subject matter from Stop Walking on Eggshells. Totally different book. Totally different person you're dealing with if you're reading one of these books or the other. So again, please do your own research. Read the descriptions. See what sounds more applicable to your situation. I'm not telling you any of these are like the end all be all for you, but I'm shooting from the hip here because I honestly don't know what it is you're up against. This is a book. It sounds like you're familiar with Dr. Ramani, so that shortcuts some things. But like Dr. Ramani is probably the world's most distinguished psychologist so far as psychopaths are concerned, specifically narcissists. I don't think anyone alive has done more work in understanding narcissists than Dr. Ramani Durvasula. So, Should I Stay or Should I Go is an excellent book in determining whether or not you have been dealing with someone who makes you feel like you could possibly be their white knight, or you could possibly help heal them, or you could possibly teach them some things that would eventually make them a better person. These are characteristics of relationships with narcissists and psychopaths. It's like sticking in a relationship because you think that that patience will bring about some kind of reward or change or uh, vindication for your partner. Um, more often
Yeah.
than not, more often than not, psychopaths cannot change because, again, psychopaths are born that way. They're born that
Yeah,
way.
like Lady Gaga.
Exactly. I don't use that term lightly. That's exactly why I'm using it because it's a powerful term, born that way. Like it's a powerful song, and it's a powerful point. When someone's born that way, what do? You can't do anything about it. That's why like people who say like I was born gay, it's like, well, yeah, they were born gay. So let them be.
Yeah,
It's the same
like
thing
a
with
natural
this is actually
predisposition, right?
that's right. And that's the sticky point with a narcissist or a psychopath that I think is so sticky and hard for people to digest because so many people want to. Oh boy, I'm about to talk about Amber Heard again, aren't I? So many people want to like throw. So many people want to hate Amber Heard. So many people want to hate people like Amber Heard. But what do we do if someone's born that way? It doesn't mean that they're choosing to do that. It means it's a tragedy that they can't
100%.
get better. You know what I mean?
It's, yeah, it's honestly funny to me that you mentioned, Dr. Romney and narcissists, because during that time when I was trying to figure out like what to do, should I stay or should I go? No pun intended. I was like on my TikTok feed and Instagram feed, it was recommending me so much stuff about narcissism, and that's honestly like what got me into Dr. Romney's videos, which I think that's so funny that like you're recommending her book to me now, which I'm definitely taking as a sign I should check out.
That book was revolutionary for me at many points in my life. It helped me with many different people. For whatever reason, I have been attracted to not just like romantically, but at many points in life, I have dealt with so many psychopaths. Uh, I don't know why that is. Uh, I have some hunches, uh, and this isn't about me, but the point is like I can empathize, and the point is that I don't know which of these books is right for you. Like I'm just to be very clear, the two books I've already talked about are two very different books. Maybe you probably don't read both of those first two that I read. You probably read the description and pick the one that sounds most relevant to you based on the description. You probably don't read both of those. I mean, if you have some time and you're interested in the subject of psychopathy, maybe read both of them. But I'm not claiming that both of them will help your personal situation. I don't know. I don't know you. Um, but yeah, those two books, Stop Walking on Eggshells and Should I Stay or Should I Go? And then there's a third book and a fourth book that we're going to talk about. The third book would be a great follow up book to either of those first two books. So I wouldn't read this third book first. I would read it second, depending on which of those first two books you start with. Um, the third book is called Psychopath Free: Recovering from Emotionally Abusive Relationships with Narcissists, Psychopaths, and Other Toxic People. This is a book by Jackson Mackenzie. This book gets really granular on dealing with psychopaths. It makes a lot of distinctions. It distinguishes between uh, the different types of psychopaths. So, in other words, like Stop Walking on Eggshells is about a loved one who is suffering from BPD. Should I Stay or Should I Go is about how to deal with a loved one who is suffering from uh, NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. And Psychopath Free is about distinguishing between all of the psychopathies. So I hope you see the point. The third book would be a great follow up book to either, but I'm not sure which book you start with. Is my point. Um, I can't tell you that, and I can't guarantee that any of this will be the answers you're looking for. But it sounds like you were in a dismissive relationship, and that's why I'm talking about these things. Um, the fourth book, I think, might be a great first book to start with, honestly, um, because you're talking about like you don't know why you were attracted to this person. You don't know like why it ended the way that it did. It sounds like you're feeling a little confused. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I can try and rationalize answers, and I don't think that would be necessarily beneficial to me right now. But I think I think confused would be a good way to put it. I think lost would be another good adjective I could use, or I don't know, just wondering like what the future holds, who I am, stuff like that.
Yeah, so Attached might be a great book for you to start with. Uh, this is book is called Attached: The New Science of Adult Attachment and How It Can Help You Find and Keep Love. This deals with attachment style theory. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that attachment style theory, but it's uh, do you know what I mean when I say that attachment style theory?
It, I think I do. I'm not sure how to put it into words exactly, but it's like bonding, kind of like how we bond to other people, I imagine, right?
Right. So there's a few different attachment styles. I think there's 9. I think there's actually I believe there's it's been a while since I finished this book, but I think there's like 3. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. So please guys do your own research. I'm just here talking to people. Uh, I have read this book. It's not an easy book to get through. None of these books I've recommended are easy to get through. Should I Stay or Should I Go is probably the easiest to read. Dr. Romney does a great job of making it entertaining. Um, the others are not so easy. Attached is probably the hardest to get through because it's not just like you're reading it. It's like a workbook. You actually have to do some work while you're reading alongside of it. And it's not super short. It's like I want to say it's like it's just under 400 pages or something like that. And you have to do some work.
Wow.
But when you come out of it, when you finish the book, you come out of it with a completed workbook that you have filled in, responding to questions. Um, about yourself, and you come out with an understanding of what you're attached to, what you attach yourself to, what your attraction tendencies are. Attached is written by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, uh, and this is a very popular book. It has 51,000, almost 52,000 reviews on Goodreads, 4.5 stars. Very popular book. And this is, I honestly, I wish there were a simpler book for this topic for people to understand what they're attracted to and what they attach themselves to. But this seems to be the best book that there is. And it's not easy to get through because, again, it requires some work. But, I kind of consider this book like, uh, it's kind of like an Enneagram kind of thing. If an Enneagram course
Hmm.
were a 400-page book, that's kind of what Attached is. It's like you're gonna read this book written by some really smart people, and you're gonna come out of it with an understanding of what you're attracted to, and it's gonna help you make better attachments in the future. And that's what Attached is all about. So I've just given you 4 books. I don't know which of those hold the secret for you. I'm not here to fix your problems. I can't fix your problems. I'm not an expert on any of this, but I've read all these books and they've meant a lot to me. And I've also been through a lot. And I hope it's helpful to at least just like vent about this stuff and think out loud.
Yeah, no, just getting to get some of this off my chest, I think, has been very helpful. And I'm appreciative of you having the space for all of us to come do that. I think it's very valuable. But I don't want to take up too much more of your guys' time. I know you have other callers to get to. But yeah, just thank you very much, Julian. Appreciate it.
Thank you for calling and being real. I really hope that that this was a good call for you. You can call back again anytime. Hoping for a good update from you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right, chat. We are about 2/3 away of our way through this stream. I see some comments from some people about am I a therapist or things on that point. I am not a therapist. Please read all the disclaimers on the stream. This is just a place to talk. If we were at a cocktail party, we might have the same conversation. This is how I talk to people. I'm interested in um, what people go through. I'm acutely aware that people don't have facilities or venues to talk about the things that are really on their minds most often. And that's what Anonymous Live is. It's a place where anyone can call in and talk about anything that's on their minds. You can vent something, confess something. I don't know who you are. I don't know who your name. I don't want to know your name or where you are. In fact, I so don't want to know these things that I will hang up on you. It sounds like that. I will hang up on you if you tell me these things. I don't want to know that. I want to create a safe space for people to talk about whatever's on their minds. We're about 2/3 of the way through the stream. I need a little bathroom break. I'm going to run and come right back. I need to take a leak because I'm sitting here drinking lemon water the whole night. And I didn't get a chance to use the restroom before the stream started because I was in a mod meeting for the Discord channel. So I'm going to take a little restroom break. I'll be back in about 60 seconds, and we'll take another caller, maybe two, depending on how it goes. And that's what we're here for. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right. If you're just joining, we are about 2/3 of the way through this stream. This is not entertaining. This is not entertainment. We are here to listen to callers and provide a safe, non-judgmental place for people to talk about whatever's on their minds, including you. You want to call in? Call in. I don't know who's calling. I don't know what they're going to talk about. And we're going to go for about another 30 minutes. Here we go. Hello. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Julian. I'm actually a second-time caller. You may or may not remember a few months ago I called about I had a really severe mental break while I was studying for the bar exam. And in that call, you listened, you did great, and you recommended that I start guided meditation, and you recommended a specific kind, and you said breathing exercises. And from one stranger to another, I just really want to say thank you very much. I just found out I passed my bar exam, and
amazing!
A huge part
Congrats!
Of it. Seriously,
congrats to you! You passed the bar. You passed the bar. That is amazing.
I was in tears. But I started doing the guided meditation at least once every day, if not twice, when my anxiety was messing with me really bad. And it's helped me in more ways than just the exam. It's helped me in my real life too. And, breathing exercises, all that. From one stranger to another, I think what you're doing is amazing. And I can't thank you enough. I don't know if you get that often on this. I know it may be a little different from your normal calls, but seriously, thank you so much.
I mean, I don't feel like I did much. I mean, did you do the Belarus Naprostek meditations? Did you try those?
I bought one of them, and then I did some free breathing exercises on YouTube. And
Okay.
there were a few apps that I did a few meditations on YouTube, and then some apps for breathing exercises, and all of those combined, doing them every day. It really helped me. So
Amazing.
I had some good news, and I just wanted to share it and say thank you again for pointing me towards that resource. I honestly, now I can't recommend it enough to people, and for anyone watching and listening, highly recommend it to anyone with anxiety or something on their mind. That you know it helps a lot more than you think, and
It
I
really
won't eat
does.
up too much of your time, but
It seems so dumb, right? It's like you're telling me I can just sit here and like be quiet and breathe really deeply for
yep,
10 minutes and everything changes? And people are like,
mm,
no, that's too good to be true. But it's not.
no, it genuinely it helps so much. And I actually had a moment during the exam where I started to panic a little bit because I couldn't get one of the essays from my memory, and I stopped and I took like a full minute out of the exam and just did some breath work and tried to calm down and got right back to it. And it seriously is just awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your life. If I never speak to you again, I just want to say thank you from one stranger to another. I hope you have a great life.
Same to you. I'm so happy to hear about the positive update. Wishing you the best in all your adventures and call again anytime.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Good night. Unbelievable. Breathing is so simple. I mean, it's actually funny. I will take a second here. Some calls are coming in, but I will take a second here. I am working on. It's so funny how simple breathing is. It's so funny. I am working with my small children on understanding the benefits of breathing, and they don't get it. Some of them get it. My older one gets it. My younger two still don't fully get it. They'll try it, but they still haven't fully subscribed to the benefits of just breathing deeply uh, when you're triggered or upset or feeling flustered or out of sorts. Uh, and it's so funny how people respond to the idea of just breathing. It's like, well, if you're so opposed to it, why don't we try the opposite? Why don't we try not breathing? Let's see where that gets you. Breathing deeply, in by nose, out by mouth. That's what I've been told is important by people much more educated than myself. In by nose, out by mouth. There are also some breathing patterns that are helpful. Uh, I like the 5-5-5 rule. It's the easiest to remember. Inhale 5 seconds, hold 5 seconds, exhale 5 seconds as deeply as you can, 10 repetitions. Uh, it's a miracle. Okay, lines are opening. Always great to hear a return caller, especially when it's a positive update. I've been wondering how this last week I've been thinking about Marty McFly and Luke Skywalker, the names we gave to two callers a couple weeks ago who said they would call again in 2 or 3 weeks. I've been wondering how they're doing. Um, and I'm hoping that we hear from them in the next week or two, hoping for some positive change to their circumstance. Uh, we never know who we're going to hear from here, but I had permission from them to save their numbers as Marty McFly and Luke Skywalker. So I'm eager to hear updates from them. Not sure if anybody remembers those callers. Lines are open. We are just chilling. Woo! I'll take this moment to uh, plug our Discord server. The Discord server is a beautiful extension of this project. I'd never anticipated there would be a Discord server associated with Anonymous Live, but it was mentioned to me by a couple of the original mods saying that a Discord server would be a really valuable place as an extension of this project. and we have I took their word for it, and I've just been blown away at how people are using it now. It truly has budded into a beautiful community of people who are using it every day. There are so many different ways to use it. It's completely free to you. You can go in there and talk about video games if you want. You can go in there and talk about books. There's a book club channel. There's also an anonymous confession channel. I don't know who's posting in there. Our mods don't know who's posting in the anonymous confession channel. It's completely anonymous. So check out the Anonymous Live Discord server. We're going into another call. I missed it because I was talking about the Anonymous Live Discord server. We'll hang here. Maybe they'll call back. But yeah, a few more words on that. Just to be very clear, the entire server is not anonymous. This project is called Anonymous Live because we take anonymous callers. That does not mean that the Anonymous Live server is completely anonymous. It's on Discord. You still need to use some discretion, especially if you're a caller. Please use your own discretion with respect to what you want to remain anonymous. In other words, if you call in here and then go into the Anonymous Live server and say, hey, I was caller number 3 on episode number X at this, whatever, you are no longer anonymous. So please be careful. We try to be ruthlessly respectful for people's anonymity here. It's called Anonymous Live, for crying out loud. So please be careful if you're using the server. But we do have an anonymous channel in there with instructions on how to use it. And now we're going into another call. Here we go. Hello, thanks for calling.
Wow, I don't know why I didn't think that this would actually go through. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can we start with your age and a brief intro?
Sure. My age is 26, and to make a long story short, I am buying a house in 48 hours, and while that should be incredibly exciting, I tomorrow need to have my partner and my parents meet and discuss the house, and I am genuinely shaking and afraid about how that's going to go. And I don't know, because I currently go to a therapist, and they seem to think that everything should be fine and everything should be great. And I don't know what to do. I can kind of start from the beginning if that's helpful, or I can kind of give more details as to what's going on now. But that's the long and short of it. Is I have been going back and forth for months between trying to deal with me wanting to keep my parents in my life versus me wanting to keep my partner in my life. And it seems like I have to choose between one or the other, and I don't like ultimatums. I feel like that's an ultimatum that I just don't want to make or have. And unfortunately, that's the case. So sorry, I needed a second to collect myself.
Yeah, take your time. Can I ask a question while you're collecting your thoughts?
Of course.
What's the rub with your partner and your parents? Like, how could that potentially upend your buying this house?
Believe it or not, a dog. As crazy as that seems.
A dog?
A dog. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
I know. To make
well, you said believe it or not, so I'm all ears. Here we go.
Here we go. So a few months back, a dog walked into my parents' life, and almost quite literally. And it was of a breed that my parents have had a lot of experience raising before, and they were incredibly excited by the prospect. And 48 hours later, realized they were in way too deep. They just did not want to deal with him. They did not want to have any kind of exposure to him. And so my partner and I offered and said, we'll take the dog in. We're both dog people. We can do it. To which they responded, no. They can, you have a cat. the cat is going to not get along at all with the dog. Not happening. So what happens? My sister ends up taking the dog. And that's fine. But I am not going to go as far as to say partner, but they were a thing. Took the dog in for a while, and a few months later, come to find out that he is abusive. And not in the best kind. It's funny because somebody had just called about passing the bar, and that's what he was studying for, and apparently he was just so stressed and anxious, and I don't know the full details of it, but I do know that I got a call one night that was her crying, saying, "Get me out of here. I can't do this anymore. Get us out of here." And so we did. And so we got the dog out, and we got her out, and we made a new plan with my parents to say, this is what's happening with the dog. Well, my sister went and full-on panic attack about the dog. The fact that the dog wasn't with her had to be hers, had to know where he was at every given moment, and give it about a month, and there's this, call it custody battle over the dog, where you have my partner versus my parents and also versus my sister, all saying, no, we want it, no, we want it, no, we want it, leaving me to be the decider of where does he go? Like, okay, well, that's nice. Appreciate that. So I sat for days, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to send him. And make a long story short, he ended up going back to my parents and is now living a good life. Like they got him the training, they got everything that they needed to get in order to give him a proper home, and everything is working out just fine. But my girlfriend is, well, shocker. Anyways, they are incredibly disappointed by that decision. They wish I had never brought the dog back in the first place, and months later, this is now 4 months later, refer to it again as their dog, not as my parents' dog, which makes things difficult, especially when my parents say things like, oh, the dog's been messing all over the place, or the dog's been causing trouble, or this, that, and I was told the next time that I need to, the next time that they say anything bad, you're going to tell your parents that you're taking the dog back. That's it. You're going to tell them that. And I said, no, it's theirs. They're taking care. No, that's my dog. Now this goes beyond just a dog. I'm sure you can tell at this point that it's not just about a dog. This is about basically who has final say, not just about where a dog ends up, but about what happens with my life and whose opinions I take priority over. And months of therapy later, I realized that it should be my own opinion. It should be who would I think. But I have parents saying, no, you need to, listen to us and have us, and we'll take care of it. But also, you need to be home with us, and you need to spend more time with us, and you don't. And my partner is saying, well, no, you need to focus on this home that you're building here, this home that you're building with me, with the animals, and we're moving further from your parents, but closer to my friends and family, and that will be good for you. And as somebody who is very family-centric, it's always been, that's a really hard thing to try to wrap my head around. Like, how do I just take these people that I'm very lucky. I tend to think that I'm very lucky in that I have very good parents that have taken very good care of their kids. Haven't always known how to, but guess what? Not every parent has a guidebook of this is how exactly you take care of your child. I'm sure you understand. But that's okay. It's a learning process. You go forward, you grow, And as a child, I have to or want to respect that and respect the sacrifices that they've made for me. But there's a much different opinion there. One is there is sacrifice, and one says they are not doing anything for your mental health. They have no boundaries about the things that they discuss with you. Dump them. Get rid of them because they're not helping. And I guess where I'm struggling is how to set up these boundaries with people that I truly care about, because I feel like if I go too far, if I step too far and say, no, it's not your dog, then to my parents, I say, you need to be respectful about having the dog to them. And this, again, I'm just using that as the primary example because that's the one they both reference. But also it refers to treatments about each other. My parents do not want to see her. They say, oh, well, they have she's this, she's that. And I could give more specifics, but I want to try to keep as vague as possible because of the tone of the chat.
Right.
And partner will say the same thing. And it's like, I just want you to get along, but at the very least, I need to be able to go see them or go see other people and not be reprimanded, and then not have to call a week later to my parents and have to hear about, are you okay? Are you being hurt? Like, no, I'm not. But I don't know how to set up that boundary without feeling like I am going to lose them, like I'm going to lose these people that I genuinely and passionately care about. And I feel like for good reason. Does that make any sense? I'm sorry.
Makes a lot of sense. Kai from the chat says, I wonder if the caller's parents have always been supportive of the relationship between the caller and their partner.
No.
Interesting.
At first, maybe. And I think that's in part because the relationship, two very opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm more of a type B person. They're more of a type A person. I prefer certain hobbies. They hate those hobbies, but prefer certain hobbies of themselves. And I don't necessarily hate them. I don't think they necessarily hate is a strong word. But I kind of do my thing and they kind of do theirs, and that's okay. It doesn't, like, there doesn't need to be cross all the time. But if I think something was wonderful, they think it was awful, and vice versa. There's just almost always that kind of mix. But because there are certain core values that have always been shared, and the truth is we do have fun together and make good decisions together and talk things through, and the lines of communication have always been good. Realistically, they've always been pretty good, I think, at least. Then I said, okay, this works, this is okay, I'm happy. And they haven't seen that. They've seen, oh, they act in this way, or they have said this thing. Oh, they were, and even now, referring to Thanksgiving of last year, have said, oh, they're still mad about that. I can't believe they were mad about us being late to Thanksgiving. And, like, firstly, no, nobody was mad about that. But secondly, you were 3 hours late. like, sorry, but I don't think they've ever been particularly supportive, but in kind every time something happens that they haven't been when they aren't supportive of me, and whether it be in career choices or in study choices or life choices. And just to give a very brief example, they wanted me to go for my PhD, and I said, no, I don't want to go for that much school. I'm done. Like, I've done enough. I'm happy with where I'm at now. And that was unacceptable for a while. And my partner saw that and said, how do you deal with that? How can you possibly be around people that want something so drastically different for you? And I said, I work with it because I love them and because they've supported me, but that answer wasn't enough didn't make sense to them. And I still think doesn't. That the level of respect just doesn't exist because their mentality, even about family that's blood related, is, well, F it. And who cares? So long if they don't care about you, if they don't really care about you, then why do you surround yourself with them? And there's a way of thinking about it, sure, but it's not my preferred way.
Right. Deanna Krebs, one of our mods, says, when boundaries are crossed, things need to change. And it's generally not the person who crossed the boundary who is going to change. So you need to take actions to protect yourself, which I think is very well said and true. People who are boundary violators typically continue doing it. That's why they're defined as boundary violators. I'm not saying your parents are those people. I don't know. It sounds like there is a boundary violator in your life somewhere. Maybe it's your parents. I don't know you. I don't know your parents. All I know is what you're telling me. It sounds like you
It's the
are
dog.
dealing with some kind of...
It's got to be the dog. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it sounds like there is some boundary violation happening. You're identifying as a type B personality, which, type A people have no problem stating when a boundary has been violated. They just say, hey, don't do that again, or else. And a lot of type A people aren't great at articulating their own boundaries. A lot of type A people are very harsh with how they enforce their own boundaries. So there is an advantage that you have as a type B personality. The disadvantage of being a type B personality is that if that's true that you are type B or that you're more passive, then the disadvantage, there's trade-offs with everything. I'm not saying you're at a disadvantage. There's trade-offs with everything. The trade-off with the type B personality is that, like, you're not going to naturally just stand your ground and stick up for yourself and correct the record. You're going to be very slow to do that. In other words, like, it's not to say that you'll never do it, but you're going to be much slower to do it than a type A person would be. And the trade-off with a type A person is that they're going to do it probably more often than they should. And so, again, I'm painting the picture of trade-offs here. I'm not saying you're at a disadvantage. You're dealing with trade-offs. It makes me wonder. This is a book we talk about all the time. We've already talked about it on this stream. Have you heard us talk about the book, Should I Stay or Should I Go?
I've actually heard it once before, but go ahead. Not in the stream, but before that, but go ahead.
Okay, there's an amazing book called Should I Stay or Should I Go? It's written by Dr. Ramani Durvasula. She's amazing. She's probably done the most work of anybody alive in understanding narcissistic personality disorder. And this book is most commonly marketed towards breaking up with a narcissist, but I can tell you from personal experience that it has much more value beyond a romantic relationship. This can be applicable if you're dealing with a narcissistic boss or a narcissistic friend or a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic sibling. This book is for anybody who might be dealing with some kind of psychopath in their life, in any capacity. And I'm not here to fix your problems. I can't fix your problems. Only you can do that. But this, as you're talking, this is the book I'm thinking of. This book comes up very often on this stream. Dr. Ramani is amazing. I'm going to plug two things here. I'm going to plug Should I Stay or Should I Go, which is Dr. Ramani's book. It's very easy to get through. There's a pretty good audiobook. I think reading is always better than listening, but if you can't find the time to sit down and read it, then there is a decent audiobook. Dr. Ramani narrates it herself, and she does a good job at narrating it. She also has a YouTube channel that's completely free, and it's full of hundreds of videos on dealing with people that are difficult, dealing with difficult personalities. Those are totally free, so it might be a great place to start before you plunge into buying a book and spending some hours reading it. Also, I would add, please read the description of the Goodreads link I'm sending you and determine whether or not you think this book is actually on point for you. I wouldn't want to recommend that you read something that's not on point, so please Um,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
do, please do your own homework before you read it. But this is what I'm thinking of as you're talking. It sounds like boundaries are an issue. It sounds like uh, you don't know. It sounds like you're dealing with ultimatums, and that's not good. Like, uh, if they're like, we shouldn't have to deal with ultimatums. Um, so there's two links in the chat for you now. One to Dr. Romney's YouTube channel. She's a psychologist with over 1 million YouTube subscribers. Her channel is an anomaly as far as I'm concerned. That's like got to be some kind of record. She's amazing. And her book, Should I Stay or Should I Go, is equally amazing. Again, like, I'm not here to fix your problems, but this book has meant a lot to me. Her content has meant a lot to me, and I hope it means as much to you as it meant to me at many times in my life. Um, her work is amazing.
I appreciate that. I'll be sure to take a look. And one thing before I hang up, I want to mention is that I just find it kind of funny that the only reason I'm calling today, the only reason I know about this stream is that a couple of days ago, we were driving in the car and I accidentally said monk and I got lightly made fun of for it. And I said, you don't know what monk is, do you? And so I showed her the video and found the stream and watched a few of them and said, wow, this is absolutely incredible. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for this, because I feel at least a little bit better venting tonight. At least I can feel like I'm going to sleep well knowing that something is going to be okay tomorrow. And thank you again.
That is such a funny story, and I'm touched. Thank you for the kind words. I'm glad that you feel a little better just venting. It's amazing how better we can feel just by being listened to, having someone listen. It's powerful, listening, and that's something we can all offer to our friends. That's why I do this stream, is to encourage others to do this with your friends. If somebody's going through something that's difficult, don't just tell them you don't have the time, or try to get off the phone. Listen to them. People need to feel heard. People need to feel validated and seen. And I'm glad that you feel like you're going to sleep a little better tonight. That's why we do this. I can't fix your problems, but I can give you a place where you're not going to be judged, and where you're not going to be turned down. And we do these streams twice a week, so you can call again anytime. Lines are always open to you. Thanks for the kind words. Please call again anytime. Hoping for a good update.
Thanks so much. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Wow, truly touched by that caller. My goodness, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. What a beautiful stream. Every single one of these are so special to me. You guys are amazing for hanging out here. This isn't entertaining. This isn't entertainment. So, like, this is what I consider to be a very high quality group of people. Notwithstanding the trolls, there's always some trolls. The trolls are welcome. They'll eventually understand what we're doing. It's okay. There's going to be some trolls. Haters going to hate. It's all right. We are here doing something we believe is important. And yeah, and I do this with you guys. This format would not work half as well without the chat. So a huge thanks to the chat. A huge thanks to our mods. Tonight we had Deanna Krebs and Offcore, and I saw King's Pawn earlier. You guys are amazing. Our mods are so incredible. They do so much here. They do so much in our Discord community as well. And for this entire project, they are invaluable. So a huge thanks to our mods. We do these streams 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And also, yeah, there's a bunch of other things happening on this channel. If you haven't checked out AV Club, check it out. JulianSmith.club. There's a bunch of stuff happening there. New updates coming. And yeah, there is so much coming. There's even new B story coming next week, guys. I don't know how to contain myself because this has been in the works for so long. There is new B story coming next week. So those are the announcements. We have been here for about 2 hours listening to calls. We'll be here again on, what is today? Today's Tuesday, I believe. It's Tuesday. Yep, 100%. I have to look at my phone every day to figure out what day it is because I'm so lost right now. There's so much going on. I'll be here again on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern for another Anonymous Live. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to all the callers. And looking forward to connecting with you guys here on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern. I will see you then. Have a great night. Take care. Good night, everybody.